You touched me. The pottery house was a square, ugly brick house girt in by the wall that enclosed the whole grounds of the pottery itself. To be sure, a privet hedge partly masked the house and its ground from the pottery yard and works, but only partly. Through the hedge could be seen the desolate yard, and the many-windowed factory-like pottery. Over the hedge could be seen the chimneys and the outhouses, but inside the hedge a pleasant garden and lawn sloped down to a willow pool, which had once supplied the works. The pottery itself was now closed, the great doors of the yard permanently shut. No more the great crates with yellow straw showing through stood in stacks by the packing shed. No more the drays drawn by great horses rolled down the hill with a high load. No more the pottery lasses in their clay-coloured overalls, their faces and hair splashed with grey fine mud, shrieked and larked with the men. All that was over. "We like it much better. Oh, much better, quieter," said Matilda Rockley. "Oh, yes," assented Emmy Rockley, her sister. "I'm sure you do," agreed the visitor. But whether the two Rockley girls really liked it better, or whether they only imagined they did, is a question. Certainly their lives were much more grey and dreary now that the grey clay had ceased to spatter its mud and silt its dust over the premises. They did not quite realise how they missed the shrieking, shouting lasses, whom they'd known all their lives and disliked so much. Matilda and Emmy were already old maids. In a thorough industrial district, it's not easy for the girls who have expectations above the common to find husbands. The ugly industrial town was full of men, young men who were ready to marry, but they were all colliers or pottery hands, mere workmen. The Rockley girls would have about £10,000 each when their father died, £10,000 worth of profitable house property. It was not to be sneezed at. They felt so themselves, and refrained from sneezing away such a fortune on any mere member of the proletariat. Consequently, bank clerks or nonconformist clergymen or even school-teachers having failed to come forward, Matilda had begun to give up all idea of ever leaving the pottery house. Matilda was a tall, thin, graceful, fair girl, with a rather large nose. She was the Mary to Emmy's Martha, that is, Matilda loved painting and music, and read a good many novels, whilst Emmy looked after the housekeeping. Emmy was shorter, plumper than her sister, and she had no accomplishments. She looked up to Matilda, whose mind was naturally refined and sensible. In their quiet, melancholy way, the two girls were happy. Their mother was dead. Their father was ill also. He was an intelligent man who had had some education, but preferred to remain as if he were one with the rest of the working people. He had a passion for music and played the violin pretty well, but now he was getting old. He was very ill, dying of a kidney disease. He had been rather a heavy whisky drinker. The quiet household with one servant maid lived on year after year in the pottery house. Friends came in, the girls went out. The father drank himself more and more ill. Outside in the street there was a continual racket of the colliers and their dogs and children, but inside the pottery wall was a deserted quiet. In all this ointment there was one little fly. Ted Rockley, the father of the girls, had had 4 daughters and no son. As his girls grew, he felt angry at finding himself always in a household of women. He went off to London and adopted a boy out of a charity institution. Emmy was 14 years old and Matilda 16 when their father arrived home with his prodigy, the boy of 6, Hadrian,